Hey everybody, Marcos Villegas here in Las Vegas for Fight Up TV, being joined with the trainer of Gennady Golovkin, Mr. Abel Sanchez. And Abel, thank you so much for joining us over here. We're going to do a little bit of a chart breakdown, a tradition for us over here at the channel when it comes to fight weeks and breaking down fights. As you see here, we got a bunch of different categories for you to fill in with our little pink magic marker. So I'm going to hand it off to you. And we're going to go ahead and break it down category by category. And you let me know which category you favor towards your man or Canelo in this fight, so we could get a good breakdown from a trainer's perspective of how this fight's going to go. So we'll go ahead and start. The first category being power. Who has the advantage there in your opinion, and who would you give it to?
I would say Golovkin obviously has the power advantage in this fight.
In terms of speed, which many have said that could be a big factor in this fight, who would you give the advantage to and why?
I think that a lot of people mistake speed for just flashiness. I think that speed has a lot to do with technique and with timing more than anything. And I think that I would have to say it's in the middle somewhere between, because Gennady's timing is impeccable.
So we could put two check marks then right there, right? So that's tied up between the two. Defense. Power, speed, now to defense. Who has the advantage there, and how big of a factor is defense you feel going to be in this fight?
I think that this Gennady has fought 350 amateur fights, and his defense is a lot better than people give him credit for. When you start comparing defenses and people getting hit, I believe that CompuBox, the HBO counter, had him in the top three, with Ward and Rigondeaux below him in defense as far as connect percentages. So because of his style, he's a forward fighter, so you assume that he's getting hit more. But everybody in boxing gets hit, and like I said, CompuBox had him up at the top. So I would say that the defenses are equal also.
All right, so go ahead and mark it there. As we come now to the category of technique, Gennady has a vast amateur experience, very decorated amateur. Canelo starting his pro career when he was 16, 17 years old. When you look at technique, who do you give the edge to there?
That has to go to Golovkin also, because Golovkin is, everybody that he fights talks about how sound he is, how he's never out of position. He's always ready to punch. His punches come from, are landed with knuckles, where Canelo sometimes is leaning back, sometimes leaning over, and he slaps a lot with his shot. So I would say that has to go to Golovkin.
So far, we are at 4 categories down. Power going to Golovkin, speed being even, defense being even, technique being even. So your man so far up by 2. Footwork, who would you give that to and why?
Again, when I'm saying all these things, I'm saying them because people that talk about him in interviews that talk about him, they talk about all these things as pluses. The footwork, I think that they've said that there hasn't been a fighter cut the ring off as good as Golovkin does, in being positioned to punch like Golovkin does. So I'm not saying it because it's me, I'm saying it because it's being said. So I would say footwork has to Golovkin also.
Here's a good one, chin. Me looking at both them fight, I would say they both have great chins. They could take punches, but how do you break that one down?
I think that Canelo got hurt by Jose Cotto, but he was very young. I would say you're absolutely right. I think that it would go both ways. I think that the chin is an even because Canelo hasn't shown any weaknesses there. He's gotten hit by some good guys and has never wobbled. So I would say it's even again.
So at this point, coming down the stretch now with the final categories, we got Gennady kind of taking it away in terms of categories. You got him with the power edge, the technique, the footwork, and you got speed, defense, and chin as even. Coming into experience, I would imagine that that's a no-brainer. Gennady would go away with that one, given his amateur experience.
You know what? I think that has to be closer than that. I think that they may have, Gennady's got the amateur experience, but I think Canelo has a professional experience. I think that would be an even spot too. Yeah, you would think that Golovkin would be more experienced, but the professional experience on Canelo's part could even that out.
All right, so as Abel fills that in as another nod to both fighters. We come now to the final 3. Ring IQ, both fighters displaying good knowledge about their ring presence, what to do in there, how to adjust it and adapt. Who would you give that nod to, though, if you had to pick between the two?
I think that goes again to the experience part. I think that they're both very, very intelligent inside the ring. They're both very calculating inside the ring. They both have had these vast experiences, Golovkin in the amateurs and Canelo in the pros. I'd say, again, it's something that it would be a 50-50 to me.
It's been a lot of 50-50s. You know, that tells you how close of a fight it could be when you're breaking it down on paper. As we come now to ring control, you mentioned it earlier with the footwork part, but who would you give that nod to, and why would you give it to one or the other?
I would have to give it to Golovkin because of what he's shown in the past. Everybody that he fights, he controls. He controls their movement, he controls their position, he controls where he wants to put them. And I think Canelo has a tendency to let people take him to the ropes. And that just means to me that he's resting, that he's not sure of what he wants to do. So I would say it has to go to Golovkin, ring control.
Abel? As Abel adds that final one here on our board, we have power going to Golovkin, speed and defense being even, technique to Golovkin, footwork to Golovkin, chin even between both fighters, experience even between the both, ring IQ even between the both, but ring control going to the Golovkin. So at this point, Gennady, in your eyes, has a lot of advantages coming into this fight, but we always like to mention the X factor, the one thing that completely could change the course of the fight in one single moment. And for you, Abel, who does that go to, and what is that X factor?
I don't think it's a thing that can change the fight at one single moment. I think that it's a progression of that. I think that presence is going to be the key. I think that Golovkin being there, if you listen to a Peter Quillen interview, he said that the Canelo doesn't have to worry so much about the power at the beginning. What he's got to worry about is Golovkin's presence, because he will always be there. When you least expect him, he's there. So I think presence is the key, the X factor, I should say, that will wear Canelo out mentally.
All right, with that being said, we come to the close of our board here. And looking at it, got Gennady up ahead on a lot of the categories. He's up there.
That's the way exactly the fight's going to be.
You know, with that saying, you mentioning the presence and all that, how do you really see the fight? I know years ago you told me that no one lasts 8 to 10 rounds with Gennady in any division from 154 to 160. We're at 160. This is for all the belts. Do you think he lasts 8 to 10 rounds with a guy like Golovkin now?
I think Canelo has matured a lot. I think Canelo's gotten a lot better. But I think the presence and the wearing down by punches in several places on his body will wear him down, and he'll get stopped somewhere late in the fight, 10th, 11th. And if it's a decision, it's Golovkin going away, maybe knocks him down a couple times or hurts him a couple times. But I think that the presence will be the key because Canelo will wear out mentally.
I got like an exclamation point going on in my head right now. Not literally, because you're looking at me like I literally have an exclamation point. That'd be like Metal Gear Solid. But with you mentioning that, if it goes to the decision, and they always mention hometown fighter gets the decision, is there a little bit of a worry there with going to that? Do you kind of have that in the back of your mind? Like, okay, maybe it's not in our best interest to have it go to the decision?
Well, obviously, I teach and I coach guys to knock people out. I would love for it to be a knockout, but if it goes to decision, we're confident that the Nevada Commission and the judges that they've appointed, and Kenny Bayless, the referee, who's a very good referee, will be fair. Will be fair, and who wins? If the other guy wins, the other guy wins. But we're confident that the Nevada Commission will not have a controversy on their hands.
All right, Abel, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. So you guys can see this is Abel's breakdown, the board here, as we have Golovkin with power, technique, footwork, ring control, and the X factor. Canelo Alvarez, his advantages coming into the fight. I don't think you gave him one on his own. It's all pretty even there.
That's the way the fight is. The Canelo's very good, but he's not on the level of Golovkin.
All right, there you guys have it. Folks, it goes down this weekend at the T-Mobile Arena. Saturday, September 16th, this man will be in the corner of Gennady Golovkin as they go ahead and face Canelo Alvarez.